The red lights on the ship's bridge flashed in the darkness. Commander Zarathik stood tall on her 4 legs, her scaled skin catching the light. Her yellow eyes stared at the blue planet on the screen. Earth looked so small and peaceful from space, another primitive world, she said to her crew. Her voice was cold like ice. This will be easy. The Velkin Empire had conquered hundreds of worlds. They were the strongest race in the galaxy. Their ships were faster than light. Their weapons could destroy planets. No one could stop them. Zarathik had been doing this for 20 years. She knew how it worked. First, they would study the primitive species. Then they would attack. The weak creatures would surrender quickly. Some would try to fight, but it never mattered. The Velkin always won. What did the scans show? She asked her science officer. The younger Velkin looked at his screens. The species calls themselves humans. They have been alive for about 200,000 years. They use basic technology, nuclear weapons, simple space travel. Nothing dangerous. Zarathik smiled, showing her sharp teeth. Perfect. How many are there? About 8 billion. Good. More slaves for the Empire. She walked to the center of the bridge. Begin the collection process. Take 20 specimens from different locations. We need to understand their weaknesses before we invade. The crew worked quickly. They had done this many times before. Special pods shot down from the ship to Earth. The pods were invisible to human technology. They would grab humans and bring them back to the ship. On Earth, people went about their normal day. They had no idea that death was coming from the stars. In the ocean, far from land, an oil rig floated on the waves. Men worked on the metal platform, drilling deep into the sea floor. Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his face. He was a big man with strong arms from years of hard work. He had been a soldier once, but now he worked underwater, fixing pipes and welding metal. It was dangerous work, but Jake liked danger. Another day in paradise, he said to his friend Pete, who was eating lunch nearby. You're crazy, Jake, Pete laughed. Most people would be scared to work down there with all those sharks and pressure. Jake shrugged. Fear is just your brain trying to keep you alive. If you listen to it too much, you stop living. That was when the pod came. It appeared in the sky like a silver dot. Then it grew bigger and bigger. The workers on the rig stopped and stared. Some pointed at the sky. Others took pictures with their phones. What the hell is that? Pete asked. Jake squinted at the object. It was moving too fast to be a plane, too quiet to be a helicopter. I don't know, but it's coming this way. The pod stopped above the rig. A blue light shot down from it. The light touched Jake, and suddenly he could not move. His body felt heavy like stone. The light pulled him up into the air. Jake! Pete shouted, but his voice seemed far away. Jake felt himself rising toward the strange craft. Other beams of light were taking people from all over the world. A woman from Tokyo, a man from London, a child from Cairo, all of them floating up into the sky. Inside the pod, Jake found himself in a small metal room. The walls were smooth and cold. There were no windows. The air smelled like chemicals. Other humans were there too, all looking scared and confused. What's happening? A woman asked. She was shaking. Where are we? An old man said. Jake looked around calmly. He had been in worse places. In the war, he had been captured by enemies. He had been buried in caves. He had been underwater when his equipment failed. This was just another problem to solve. The pod moved fast through space. In minutes, it reached the big ship. The humans were taken to a holding area. It was like a jail made of energy fields instead of bars. Zarathik watched the humans on her screens. Most of them were crying or shouting. They pressed against the energy walls, trying to escape. Some had stopped moving and just sat on the floor, but one was different. The big human with dark hair was walking around his cell. He was looking at the walls and the ceiling. He touched the energy field and pulled his hand back when it shocked him, but he did not seem afraid. He seemed curious. "Interesting," Zarathik said. "Bring me that one first." 2 Velkin guards went to get Jake. They were huge creatures, much bigger than humans. Their skin was dark green and covered in scales. They had long claws and sharp teeth. Most humans screamed when they saw them. Jake just nodded when they opened his cell. "Nice ship," he said. "How long did it take you to get here?" The guards looked at each other. They did not understand his words, but they could tell he was not afraid. This was new. They brought Jake to a room with a single chair in the center. Bright lights shone down from above. Zarathik was waiting for him. She was smaller than the guards, but still taller than Jake. Her skin was red instead of green. She wore a uniform with strange symbols on it. Her eyes were the color of gold. "Sit," she said in perfect English. Jake sat down. The chair was uncomfortable, but he had sat in worse places. "You speak English pretty well. How long have you been watching us?" Zarathik walked around the chair. "I will ask the questions, human. You will answer them." "Fair enough," Jake said. "But I'm curious about your people. Are you all this polite, or am I special?" This made Zarathik stop walking. In all her years of interrogating prisoners, no one had ever asked her questions. They were always too scared or too broken to think about anything except their own fear. "You should be terrified," she said. "Do you know what I am going to do to you?" Jake looked at her calmly. "I'm guessing it won't be pleasant, but I've had worse days." Zarathik felt something strange. Was this human too stupid to understand danger? Or was there something else going on? She would find out soon enough. Zarathik pressed a button on her wrist device. The lights in the room became brighter. So bright that most creatures would close their eyes and scream. Jake squinted a little, but kept looking at her. "Tell me about your planet's defenses," she said. Jake leaned back in the chair. "Well, we have armies, navies, air forces, nuclear weapons. The usual stuff for a species that likes to fight itself." "How many nuclear weapons?" "Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. We've gotten pretty good at making things that explode." Zarathik made notes on her device. This was normal. Most primitive species had simple weapons. What about space defenses? "We have some satellites, space stations. Not much compared to your ship, I'm guessing." This was also normal. Zarathik had heard similar answers from hundreds of species. She pressed another button. The chair Jake was sitting in began to get hot. Not enough to burn, but enough to cause pain. Most prisoners would start sweating and begging by now. Jake just shifted a little to get more comfortable. "Are you feeling all right?" he asked. "You seem tense." Zarathik stared at him. "The chair is designed to cause pain. Do you not feel it?" "Oh, I feel it. But I've been in saunas hotter than this. My grandmother used to make me sit in one when I was sick. She said it would burn the germs out of me." "Grandmother?" Zarathik did not understand this word. "My father's mother. Old human female. She was tougher than most soldiers I've met. Lived through a war when she was young. Nothing scared her after that." Zarathik increased the heat. Now the chair was hot enough to cause serious burns. Jake's skin began to turn red, but he did not cry. Out. He just kept talking. "You know, this reminds me of the time I was trapped in a burning building. I was trying to save this family. The floor was so hot it melted my boots, but I got them out, all of them." "Why do you tell me this?" Zarathik asked. "Just making conversation. It's been a while since I met someone new. Where are you from?" Another galaxy? Zarathic turned off the heat and pressed a different button. Now the chair became very cold. Cold enough to freeze water. Most creatures would be shivering and begging for warmth. Jake's breath came out in small clouds, but he did not shake. Now this is more like it. Reminds me of winter in Alaska. I worked on a fishing boat there for a year. Water was so cold that if you fell in, you had about 3 minutes before you died. Did you fall in? Twice. Both times I climbed back out. The trick is not to panic. Panic kills you faster than the cold. Zarathic was getting frustrated. She had broken warriors and kings with these simple techniques. She turned off the cold and activated a different torture device. This one sent electrical shocks through the chair. Small at first, then stronger. The electricity was designed to attack the nervous system and cause terrible pain without permanent damage. Jake's body went stiff when the first shock hit him. His muscles tightened, but he did not scream. He breathed deeply and slowly. That's new, he said through gritted teeth. Is this how your people say hello? Zarathic increased the power. Now the shocks were strong enough to kill most small creatures. Jake's body shook, but he kept talking. I got hit by lightning once. During a storm at sea, knocked me right off the boat. But I lived. Human bodies are pretty tough. We can take a lot of punishment. Stop talking, Zarathic shouted. She had never met a prisoner who would not break. There had to be something wrong with this human Dachi. Brought in a mind probe. It was a device that could read thoughts and create terrible visions in the victim's head. It would show them their worst fears and make them feel like they were dying over and over. The probe attached to Jake's head with thin metal wires. Zarathic activated it. Jake's eyes went wide. His body went very still. For a moment, Zarathic thought she had finally broken him. Then Jake started laughing. What do you see? Zarathic demanded. My worst fear? I see myself as an old man sitting in a chair, never having done anything brave or important, never having helped anyone. Never having made a difference. Jake looked at her with clear eyes. But I'm not that man. I'm here. I'm alive. I'm talking to someone from another world. This is actually pretty amazing. Zarathic turned off the machine. She had used it on thousands of prisoners. It always worked, always. But this human seemed to enjoy facing his fears. You are not normal, she said. Normal is boring. I learned that in the war, the normal soldiers were the ones who died first. They expected things to be safe and easy. But life is never safe or easy, so you learn to adapt. Your species fights itself? All the time. We've been fighting for thousands of years. We fight over land, over resources, over ideas. We fight because we're different colors or believe in different gods. We're really good at killing each other. Then, you understand what it means to be conquered. Jake shook his head. We understand what it means to try. Lots of people have tried to conquer us. Most of them are dead now. The ones who aren't dead learn to leave us alone. Zarathic felt something cold in her stomach. This human was not like the others. The others had begged and cried and told her everything she wanted to know. But this one seemed to think he was having a normal conversation. You should be afraid, she said. Why? You're obviously intelligent. You speak my language. You're curious about us, or you wouldn't be asking questions. That means you're not just going to kill me for fun. I could torture you until you beg for death. You could try. But I've been tortured before. Enemy soldiers captured me once. They did things to me that would give you nightmares. But I survived. I escaped, and I made sure they never hurt anyone else. Zarathic walked to the other side of the room. She needed to think. This human was not acting like a prisoner. He was acting like he was in control of the situation. What do you want?" She asked. "I want to understand why you're here. Are you here to study us, trade with us, or are you here to kill us?" "We are here to conquer your world, to make your people our slaves." Jake nodded like she had just told him the weather. "That's what I thought." "Well, that's going to be a problem." "Why?" "Because humans don't make very good slaves. We have a habit of fighting back, even when we should know better." Zarathik looked at this strange human. He was not afraid of her. He was not afraid of pain. He was not afraid of death. What kind of creature was not afraid of anything? She was about to find out. Zarathik stared at Jake for a long time. She had used every torture device on her ship. Nothing worked. The human just sat there, talking like they were old friends having coffee. "I do not understand you," she said finally. "Every species in the galaxy fears us. We have destroyed entire worlds. We have wiped out civilizations that were older than your species. But you sit there like this is a normal day." Jake stretched his arms. The chair had left marks on his skin from the heat and cold and electricity, but he moved like the pain meant nothing. "It is a normal day," he said. "Well, more interesting than most. I've never talked to an alien before. Are there many species like yours out there?" "Thousands. And we have conquered most of them. That must keep you busy." Zarathik felt anger rising in her chest. "Do you not understand what I am telling you? We are going to invade your world. We are going to kill millions of your people. We are going to enslave the rest. Your species will cease to exist as anything more than property." Jake nodded. "I heard you the first time. But you still haven't answered my question." "What question?" "Why aren't you afraid of us?" Zarathik laughed. It was a harsh sound like breaking glass. "Afraid of you? You are a primitive species with simple weapons. We have technology you cannot imagine. We have ships that can destroy planets. We have armies that number in the billions. Why would we fear you?" "Because you're asking the wrong questions." "What do you mean?" Jake leaned forward in his chair. For the first time since the interrogation began, he looked completely serious. "You want to know about our weapons and our defenses, but you should be asking about our world, about what it takes to survive on Earth. Your world looks peaceful. From space, blue oceans, green lands, very pleasant. That's the problem with looking at things from far away. You miss the details." Jake's voice became quiet. "Do you know what lives in those blue oceans? Sharks that can smell blood from miles away. Jellyfish that can kill you with one touch. Whales bigger than your ships. And that's just the surface." Zarathik listened despite herself. There was something in the human's voice that made her want to hear more. "Go deeper, and you find things that live in complete darkness. Creatures that create their own light to hunt. Fish with teeth like knives. The pressure down there would crush your body in seconds. And the land? Bears that can break trees with their claws. Snakes with poison that stops your heart. Spiders that jump on you from hiding places. Cats that hunt in packs. And that's just the animals." Jake stood up from the chair. The guards reached for their weapons, but Zarathik waved them back. "Our weather tries to kill us too," Jake continued. "Storms that throw cars around like toys. Earthquakes that split the ground open. Volcanoes that bury entire cities. Floods that wash away everything. Ice ages that last for thousands of years. Many worlds have dangerous conditions. But here's the thing about Earth. It's not just dangerous. It's creative about being dangerous. Just when you think you understand the rules, something new tries to kill you." Jake walked to the wall and touched it with his hand. 100 years ago, we had a sickness that killed 50 million people. We learned to fight it. 70 years ago, we had a war that killed even more. We learned from that too. Every time. Something tries to destroy us. We get stronger. Your species fights itself. That makes you weak. No, that makes us experienced. Jake turned back to face her. We've been fighting and dying and surviving for thousands of years. Not against. One enemy. Against everything. Against nature. Against disease. Against each other. Against our own stupidity. Zarathik felt something cold in her stomach. What are you saying? I'm saying that every human alive today is the child of survivors. My grandfather fought in a war where millions died. My grandmother lived through a time when people had no food. My father grew up when the air was poison and the water was dirty. They all survived. They all had children. They all passed on their strength. Jake's eyes were bright now, like fire. You want to know why I'm not afraid? Because I've been afraid. Before, we all have. Fear is just another thing we learn to live with. But you are still primitive. You still die from simple things. Yes, we die, but we don't give up. When one of us falls, 2 more take his place. When you kill 100 of us, 1,000 more volunteer to fight. When you destroy one of our cities, we build 2 more. Zarathik backed away from him. You are trying to frighten me. No, I'm trying to educate you. See, you made a mistake. When you decided to invade us, what mistake? You gave us time to study you. The cold feeling in Zarathik's stomach became ice. What do you mean? You've been watching us for a while, haven't you? Studying our technology, learning our languages, planning your attack, yes. But you forgot that we might be watching you too. Jake smiled, but it was not a friendly smile. You're not the first visitors we've had. About 60 years ago, another ship crashed in our desert. We studied it. We learned from it. We've been waiting for more of you to show up. That is impossible. The ship's records would have shown no previous contact. Would they? Are you sure about that? Zarathik's mind raced. Could the humans have hidden their knowledge? Could they have been preparing for this moment? You see, Jake continued, humans have one advantage over every other species you've conquered. We're paranoid. We always assume the worst will happen. So we prepare for it. Prepare how? That would be telling. But I will say this. You know, that old saying about not judging a book by its cover? I do not know this saying. It means things are not always what they seem. You looked at Earth and saw a peaceful world with primitive people, but you didn't look close enough. Jake walked back to his chair and sat down. Now, you asked me why I'm not afraid. The answer is simple. I'm not afraid because I know something you don't know. What? You should be afraid of us. Zarathik felt her blood turn to ice water. The human was still sitting calmly in his chair. He was still speaking in the same quiet voice. But something had changed. Something important. Why should we fear? You? She asked. Because you made the same mistake everyone else makes. You assume that because we're young and primitive, we're also weak and stupid. Are you not? We're young. We're primitive. But we're not weak, and we're definitely not stupid. Jake looked directly into her eyes. We're survivors, and survivors always have a plan. The lights on the ship began to flicker. The lights flickered again. Then the ship shook slightly, like something had bumped into it. Zarathik pressed a button on her wrist device. Bridge, report. Commander, we are experiencing some technical difficulties. Minor system failures in Sections 7 and 12. Fix them immediately. We are trying, Commander, but the failures seem to be spreading. Zarathik looked at Jake. He was still sitting calmly in his chair, but now he was smiling. Something funny? She asked. Just thinking about my friend Pete. He's probably wondering where I went. He's not very smart, but he's good with computers. Really good. What does that have to do with anything? Nothing. Just making conversation. The ship shook again, harder this time. Zarathic's wrist device beeped with urgent messages. Commander, we have lost control of the waste processing system. Commander, the food dispensers are not working. Commander, the artificial gravity is fluctuating in the lower decks. Zarathic pressed more buttons. What is causing these failures? We do not know, Commander. The systems appear to be shutting down randomly. Jake stretched his arms over his head. You know, I've been thinking about what you said, about conquering thousands of species. That's really impressive. Do not try to distract me, human. I'm not trying to distract you. I'm genuinely curious. How do you usually do it? Do you study the species first? Learn their weaknesses? Of course. We gather intelligence before any invasion. Smart, very smart. But here's what I don't understand. If you're so good at studying other species, how did you miss so much about? You? Zarathic turned to face him fully. What do you mean? Well, for example, you know about our nuclear weapons. But do you know about our computer viruses? Computer viruses? Programs that can infect other computer systems. We invented them about 50 years ago. We got really good at making them. Some of them can shut down entire networks. The ship shook again. This time, the lights went out completely for several seconds before coming back on. Commander, the voice from the bridge sounded worried now. The navigation system is offline. We also cannot communicate with the home fleet. Zarathic felt panic rising in her chest. Explain these failures immediately. We cannot, Commander. The diagnostic systems are also failing. Jake stood up from his chair. The guards pointed their weapons at him, but he ignored them. You want to know something interesting about humans? He said. We're really good at pretending to be stupid. It's a survival trick we learned. If your enemy thinks you're harmless, they don't watch you as carefully. Sit down. I think I'll stand. My back was getting sore. Jake walked to the wall and leaned against it. The thing is, we've been pretending for about 60 years now. Ever since that first ship crashed. What ship? The one that taught us. About faster-than-light travel. About energy weapons. About shields and artificial gravity. We learned a lot from that ship. Zarathic's mouth went dry. You are lying. Am I? Think about it. Why would a species that fights itself constantly not be interested in better weapons? Why would a species that explores dangerous places not? Want to go to other worlds? The ship shook so hard that Zarathic had to grab a wall to keep from falling. Commander, we have a serious problem. The humans in the holding cells are not acting like prisoners anymore. What do you mean? They appear to be working together. They are doing something to the energy barriers. Jake smiled wider. Oh, that would be Dr. Susan Martinez. She's a physicist, specializes in energy research. And the man next to her is Colonel Frank Thompson. He's a military engineer. Very good at breaking things. How do you know this? Because they're not random people you grabbed off the street. They're volunteers. Volunteers for what? For this mission. To get captured by you. To get inside your ship. To study your technology from the inside. Zarathic felt the world spinning around. Her. That is impossible. Our selection process was random. Was it? Are you sure about that? Because we've been tracking your ship since you entered our solar system. We knew where you would look for specimens. We made sure the right people were in the right places. You could not have known our methods. We learned them from studying the other ships. See, you're not the first aliens to visit Earth. You're just the first ones we decided to let capture us. The lights went out again. This time they stayed out longer. When they came back on, they were much dimmer. Commander, we have lost main power. We are running on emergency systems only. Commander, the humans have escaped from their cells. They are moving through the ship. Commander, something is jamming our communications. We cannot contact the home fleet. Zarathik pulled out her weapon and pointed it at Jake. Stop this immediately. I can't stop it. It's already begun. What is already begun? The upload. Dr. Martinez and Colonel Thompson are uploading human computer viruses into your ship's systems. The viruses are designed to learn and adapt. They're studying your technology and sending the information back to Earth. That is impossible. Our computers are protected. From other alien computers, maybe, but not from human ones. You see, we think differently than you do. We're more creative, more chaotic. Your systems don't know how to defend against that. The ship shook violently. Alarms began blaring throughout the vessel. Commander, we are losing life support in sections 1 through 15. Commander, the weapon systems are offline. Commander, the engines are shutting down. Zarathik's weapon trembled in her hands. Fix it. Fix everything. We are trying, Commander. But the viruses are spreading faster than we can contain them. Jake pushed himself off the wall and walked toward her. She kept the weapon pointed at him, but her hands were shaking. You want to know the really clever part? He said, we didn't just send viruses. We sent a message. What message? A message to every ship in your fleet. A message that looks like it came from your own command. It tells them to come to Earth immediately, to bring all their ships. 2. Prepare for a great victory. Why would you want our entire fleet to come to Earth? Jake's smile was cold now. Because we're not just good at surviving. We're good at setting traps. And the bigger the trap, the more we can catch. You are bluffing. Your species does not have the technology to fight our fleet. You're right. We don't have your technology. But we have something better. What? We have your technology. Every ship that's ever crashed on Earth. Every piece of equipment that's ever been left behind. We've been collecting it all, studying it, learning from it. The ship shuddered and began to list one side. Commander, we are falling toward the planet. We cannot control our descent. Zarathik looked at the human who stood before her. He was not afraid. He was not even worried. He looked like a predator who had just cornered his prey. What do you want? She whispered. I want you to understand something very important, Jake said. You came here thinking you were the hunters. But you were wrong. We're the hunters. We've always been the hunters. What are you going to do to us? That depends on you. Are you going to be smart about this? Or are you going to be stupid? The ship's lights flickered one more time and then went out completely. In the darkness of the dead ship, Zarathik could hear footsteps. Many footsteps. The humans were moving through the corridors. Her crew was running and shouting in panic. Emergency lights came on, casting red shadows everywhere. Jake stood in front of her, no longer looking like a prisoner. He looked like a soldier. You have about 10 minutes before this ship crashes into the ocean, he said calmly. I suggest you listen carefully. You are going to kill us all, not if you're smart. The ship won't explode when it hits the water. We made sure of that. We need you alive. For what? To send a message to your people. Zarathik heard more alarms. Her crew was abandoning the upper decks. Some were trying to reach the escape pods. Others were trying to restore power to the engines. Commander, a voice called over the ship's communication system. It was Dr. Martinez, a human physicist. This is Dr. Susan Martinez speaking to all Velkin crew members. Please remain calm. We have disabled your weapons and your communication systems. We do not want to hurt you, but we will defend ourselves if necessary. Jake nodded toward a wall panel that was still working. She's a good doctor. Spent 5 years studying the ship that crashed in Nevada. She knows your technology better than most of your own engineers. This is impossible. You keep saying that. But here we are. The ship tilted more sharply. Through the small window in the room, Zarathik could see blue ocean getting closer. What message do you want us to send? She asked. The truth, that humans are not weak. That humans are not defenseless. That anyone who comes to Earth looking for a fight will get one. Our fleet will destroy your planet. Jake shook his head. Your fleet is walking into a trap. Right. Now, they're receiving signals that look like they came from your ship. Signals telling them to enter our solar system, with all weapons powered down for a surprise attack. They would never do that. They would if the signals came from their own commanders. We've been listening to your communications for months. We know your codes. We know your procedures. Zarathik felt sick. What have you done? We've done what humans always do. We've turned your own strength against you. The ship struck the ocean with a tremendous crash. Water rushed through the broken hull, but the ship did not sink immediately. It floated, damaged but intact. Through the chaos, Zarathik heard new voices. Human voices speaking in organized patterns. Her crew was being captured, but they were not being killed. Colonel Thompson's voice came over the communication system. All Vulcan crew members, please move to designated safe areas. Medical teams are standing by to treat any injuries. Do not resist, and you will not be harmed. Medical teams? Zarathik asked. Human doctors and nurses. We brought them along in case anyone got hurt during the crash. Jake helped her to her feet. We're not monsters, Commander. We don't kill prisoners. But you would kill our fleet. Only if they try to kill us first. We're hoping they'll be smarter than that. They walked through the damaged corridors. Everywhere Zarathik looked, she saw her crew being helped by humans. Human medics were treating injured Vulcan soldiers. Human engineers were making sure the damaged ship was safe. I do not understand, she said. Why are you helping us? Because that's what humans do. We fight when we have to. But we prefer to talk. They reached the main deck. Through the broken windows, Zarathik could see human ships surrounding them. But these were not the primitive boats she had seen in her intelligence reports. These ships looked like they used Vulcan technology, but improved. How long have you been preparing for this? She asked. Since the first ship crashed. 63 years, 2 months, and 16 days. Jake looked out at the human fleet. We've been very patient. Dr. Martinez approached them. She was a small woman with gray hair and kind eyes. Commander Zarathik, I need to ask you some questions about your medical needs. We want to make sure you and your crew are properly cared for. You are treating us like guests, not prisoners. That's because we hope you'll become our friends. But first, you need to help us prevent a war. Dr. Martinez led them to a communication station that the humans had set up. On the screen, Zarathik could see her own fleet approaching Earth. Hundreds of ships, all following the false signals. Your fleet will arrive in 6 hours, Dr. Martinez said. When they get here, they're going to find something they didn't expect. What? Earth's real defenses. The screen changed to show Earth's moon. But it was not the moon Zarathik remembered from her intelligence reports. This moon was covered with what looked like weapons platforms and shield generators. We've been building those for 40 years, Jake said, using technology from crashed ships. But we improved the designs. How? By making them more human. More unpredictable. More dangerous. The screen showed more images. Space stations that looked like asteroids. Satellites that could move and fight like ships. Weapons that fired not energy, but specially designed computer viruses that could disable entire fleets. You have been watching us for months, Zarathik said, but we have been watching the galaxy for decades. We know about other species that have tried to conquer Earth. We know what happened to them. What happened to them? They learned to leave us alone. Some of them are now our trading partners. Some of them help us explore space. Some of them just stay away. Dr. Martinez turned to face her. Commander, your people have a choice. You can. Try to conquer us and discover why every other species has failed. Or you can be the first to approach us as equals. Equals? We have things you want. Technology, resources, ideas. And you have things we want. Knowledge of the galaxy, star maps, information about other species. Jake nodded toward the screen. We could trade, learn from each other, explore the galaxy together. Or we could fight, and you could find out why humans have never been successfully conquered by anyone or anything. Zarathik looked at the humans around her. They were not torturing her crew. They were not demanding surrender. They were offering partnership. What if my fleet refuses to listen? Then they'll learn the hard way. But we're hoping they'll be smarter than that. Dr. Martinez handed her a communication device. This will let you talk directly to your fleet commander. You can tell him the truth about what you've discovered here. Zarathik took the device. Her hands were shaking. What should I tell him? Tell him that humans are not prey, Jake said. Tell him that we're predators who have learned to be civilized. Tell him that we'd rather be friends than enemies, but we're prepared for either. And if he doesn't believe me, then he'll find out for himself. But Commander, I hope you'll convince him to be smart about this, because humans have a saying. What? Saying? It's better to have us as friends than as enemies. Zarathik activated the communication device. She could see her fleet on the screen, moving toward Earth like a pack of hunters stalking prey. But now she knew the truth. They were not the hunters. They had never been the hunters. They were walking into the territory of the most dangerous predator in the galaxy. A predator that had learned to smile and offer friendship, but was always ready to bare its teeth. Humans. She began to speak to her fleet commander, knowing that her words would determine whether her people would gain a powerful ally or face an enemy they could never defeat. The choice was theirs, but she already knew what choice any smart predator would make when faced with another predator who offered friendship instead of war. Fleet Commander, she said into the device, this is Zarathik. I need to tell you something very important about the humans, and you need to listen very carefully.